Morning, gentlemen. Welcome you to the monthly roundup for the month that ended on 31st July. Now, first we will cover the international news and then we move on to the national. So, first, very important thing that is happening right now is the heat wave in Europe and US. The temperatures have gone above 40 degrees. ऐसा लग रहा है हिंदुस्तान का हिस्सा जैसा हिंदुस्तान में होता है वैसा आज स्पेन, इंग्लैंड, अमेरिका वगैरह में हो रहा है. So the scientists were right about the climate changes. They warned us, but we paid no heed. And now some scientists even say that there is hardly any window of opportunity left to undo what we have done. So we need to face it square and nothing can be done to check this anymore. A famous US comedian many years back once remarked, जनता बोलते हैं, लोग बोलते हैं, save earth, save the planet. So he sarcastically remarked, he said earth has been here for billions of years and it knows how to save itself. What is needed is we need to save ourselves. Right? The earth can look after itself. So now we have reached a stage where we need to prepare ourselves for this change that is taking place. Now, how do we change this? Mahatma Gandhi said, earth has enough to meet our needs and not our greeds. So, we need to change that. We need to limitize our needs and not be greedy. Now, besides few steps that oft repeated, water conservation, digging of bore wells, tree plantation, ये सबको मालूम है. I am focusing on two very important things. One, we need to change the architectural डिज़ाइन ऑफ आर होम्स. पुराने ज़माने में जो घर बनते थे ना उनमें पंखे होते थे लेकिन उनमें बहुत वेंटिलेशन होता था. सो वो खसखस की वो लगती थी, उससे भी गर्मियों में आराम से रहा जा सकता था क्योंकि वेंटिलेशन होता था. आज हम जब देखते हैं when we go to the market, look at the architectural design of the complexes and buildings. अगर उनके अंदर अगर एसी ना चल रहा हो फुल टाइम जब तक वो खुले हैं, आप अंदर सांस लेना मुश्किल है. बाहर चाहे कितनी भी बढ़िया हवा चल रही हो, इवन नाउ व्हेन इट इज मॉनसून्स एंड देयर इज कूल ब्रीज ब्लोइंग एयर, वी विल नोटिस दिस व्हेन यू गो टू अ मॉल और any shopping complex or any office building, you will find there is a need for AC. Why have we designed our buildings like this? We need to change that. Somebody has to force, some organizations have to get after the municipal Nagar Nigams and all those concerned authorities that we need to change those designs. Now, we can't do, because these designs consume huge amount of energy. मैं भी कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में रहा हूँ और मुझे भी मालूम है कि कभी जब लाइट चली जाती तो मुसीबत हो जाती थी, लोग उठ के बाहर जाना पड़ता था. So as a result we had a generator which could, the moment it power goes, main supply की तो generator on हो गया, ACs on हो गए. क्योंकि ऐसा डिजाइन ही नहीं है जहां से कि हमें खुली हवा आ रही हो. So we need to change the architectural designs. The second thing, we need to buy just one dwelling, one house. एक घर बहुत है. What we are doing is we are buying plots and plots everywhere, all around the city. कहीं कॉलोनियां है, आप घूम के आके देखिए, 80% plots are for investment purposes. रेसिडेंशियल वो उन्होंने घर के लिए ही नहीं, वो इन्वेस्टमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, और वो खाली पड़े हुए हैं. लोगों ने 2-2, 3-3, 4-4 प्लॉट्स लिए हुए. नाउ हम जैसे ही प्लॉट्स ज़्यादा खरीदने लगते हैं, वो एक ना एक दिन कंक्रीट में कन्वर्ट हो रहा है और ग्रीनरी रिड्यूस हो रही है. These, I think, are the two. Here comes the important. Not our earth has enough to meet our needs, but not our greed. And here we need to control our greed. Right? So these are the two things, very important, I believe, which can help us preparing for the future as the temperatures are growing. And एक जो चीज़ हमने नोटिस की है कि समर्स का ड्यूरेशन मीन्स हायर टेम्परेचर्स का ड्यूरेशन अब बढ़ गया है, सर्दियों का ड्यूरेशन भी कम हो गया है, मॉनसून का ड्यूरेशन भी कम हो गया है. राइट? सो वी नीड टू प्रिपेयर आवरसेल्व्स एंड दिस इज हाउ परहैप्स वी कैन प्रिपेयर आवरसेल्व्स फॉर फ्यूचर. The second thing that happened in the month of July, on 06 July, was the G20 summit. Now, G20 summit for the foreign ministers. So on 6th July, this was held on the Indonesian island of Bali. It was a 2-day meeting in which the impact of war in Ukraine was the main issue of discussion. This was yet another opportunity for the world's largest economies to take stock of the economic impacts of the war, as many nations that have decided to stay neutral in the conflict, like India, Brazil, even host Indonesia, are now feeling the pinch as the war has prolonged their expectations. Nobody was expecting that the war would prolong so much and it will have such, ramifications all over. It's for this reason that Indonesia has invited Russian President also Putin to attend the G20 summit, which will be held in November. Now, as the G20 nations are stuck up and facing the heat, their economies are in turmoil and facing a lot of challenges. So this was discussed during the meet. Now, as expected, nothing much would be achieved by this meet. Nothing concrete would come out, and same thing happened because there are rifts amongst the nations also. Because some are neutral, some are anti, some are with America. So nothing concrete came out of it. So despite the impact of war, which is seriously impacting the economies, the deeply divided top diplomats from the world's richest and largest developing nations failed to find a common ground over Russia's war in Ukraine and how to deal with the impact. All these nations are now doing a balancing act. Since the outbreak of war, they will continue to do so, because no one knows which side may blink first. Right? So that's the G20 summit. Now we come down to the Indian news. On 11th July, Prime Minister unveiled the national emblem on the new Parliament building. कई लोगों ने क्रिटिसाइज करने लगे, एज यूजुअल हमारे माइंड्स पॉलिटिकली विशिएटेड हो गए हैं कि शेर द लायन दैट वर प्लेस्ड ऑन टॉप वर ग्राउलिंग, उनके दांत दिख रहे हैं. दिस इज फनी थिंग कि शेर इज मेंट टू ग्राउल, सो व्हाट इज सो डिस्टर्बिंग अबाउट इट? हाउएवर, इंस्टेड ऑफ क्रिटिसाइजिंग ऑल दिस कि लायंस वर ग्राउलिंग और उनके दांत दिख रहे थे, व्हाट वी शुड फोकस ऑन कि उस नेशनल एम्बलम के नीचे बैठेंगे कौन लोग, उनकी क्या क्वालिटी होगी, वो ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है देश के लिए और समाज के लिए. क्या वो वही लोग होंगे जो नेताओं को इधर से उधर दौड़ाते रहते हैं, महाराष्ट्र बॉम्बे से गुजरात, गुजरात से आसाम, आसाम से फिर कहीं, एंड देन दे कम एंड ऑक्यूपाई पावर. ऑल दिस हैपेंड विदाउट मनी. सो क्या वही उसी तरह के लोग नीचे बैठेंगे? क्या वही लोग बैठेंगे जो समाज को बांटते हैं? सो लेट्स फोकस ऑन द क्वालिटी ऑफ द पीपल हु वुड सिट अंडरनीथ द नेशनल एम्बलम इंस्टेड ऑफ कि शेर के दांत दिख रहे हैं नहीं दिख रहे। सिंबलिज्म वैसे भी कोई मायने नहीं रखता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, सचिन, सहवाग, धोनी, they were very aggressive batsmen, but they were not, they never growled at the bowlers. उनका बैट ही बोलता था। And the one who pumped his fist is now finding it difficult to retain his position. और श्रीलंका का तो एक शेर, वो जो इवन तलवार लेके जा रहा था, वो धाराशाही हो गया। तो सिंबलिज्म डज नॉट मेक एनी डिफरेंस। सिंबलिज्म का फायदा तभी होता है व्हेन उसकी सैंक्टिटी का ख्याल रखा जाए। नेशनल एम्बलम का जो है उसकी सैंक्टिटी रखी जाए, और वो काम मेरी नज़र से देश में सिर्फ एक ही संस्था ने किया है, वो है इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस, विच हैज ऑलवेज मेंटेन्ड द सैंक्टिटी ऑफ द नेशनल एम्बलम। व्हेन ऑल स्टोन्स वर पूरा एफर्ट लगा दिया, they turned every stone, they left no stone unturned to divide this country, to break this country, to break our unity. Here was one organization which maintained the sanctity of the national emblem and kept us united. The next was, in the early part of July, some Chinese aircrafts, fighter aircraft, flew very close to the LAC. Now the Indian Air Force reacted. But the point is, Chinese wouldn't have done unintentionally. It was an intentional effort. What they were trying to achieve. Then we had, on 17th of July, we had a 16th round of talks, right, between the army generals of China and the Indian Army. Now this happened on 17th of July. So, although the situation in eastern Ladakh figured prominently in the talks between the foreign minister, Mr. Jaishankar, and his Chinese counterpart in Bali on July 7th, but the border talks held by the army generals resulted in nothing. The report said the focus was on resolving outstanding issues in the remaining friction points along the LAC in eastern Ladakh. Some reports claim that the aim was to cool tensions at friction points along the LAC in eastern Ladakh in the backdrop of outstanding problems at Petrol Point 15 near Konkla, Dipsang Bulge in DBO sector, and Charding Nala Junction in Demchok sector. Now, nothing came, but both sides said that the talks were constructive and forward-looking. Now, for a layman, it is really confusing, as to what are those friction points, what are those outstanding problems when Prime Minister says कोई आया ही नहीं. तो जब कोई आया नहीं, तो what are those friction points and what are those outstanding problems? Now, there are many military experts who are working with media today. They claim that the Chinese have come across the LAC in certain sectors and are occupying our land. Now this is further, इसकी credibility इस news की और बढ़ जाती है when Mr. Subramaniam Swamy, who was a reputation of being blunt and exposing many tainted ministers in the past, raised the same issue, and he said that the government is lying about the ongoing India-China border disputes. He claimed that whatever is being said by the government about no one from China entering Indian territory is false. He says that the government keeps saying that there is no intrusion, that no one has entered or exited. It's not true. Either the army personnel deployed there are lying to the government, or they themselves think, or the government themselves think that such kind of lies should be pushed forward for whatever reasons. Now, even the USA on last year in the report given by the Department of Defense said China built a large 100 home civilian village inside the disputed territory between the Tibetan Autonomous Region and Arunachal Pradesh. It also said that China has been taking incremental and tactical actions to press its claims at the LAC with India. Now these skirmishes we know are not something new. It happened in 2013, a long standoff that took place between India and China at the Daulat Beg Oldie sector in eastern Ladakh. Thereafter, the next year, 2014, the two sides locked horns in Chumar sector of Ladakh. Thereafter, in 2017, the two armies were back again facing each other in Doklam. Right? And then in 2020, we know what happened, the Galwan clash and all that. So, all these skirmishes are not new. They have a long history. But China now is blatantly using every opportunity to belittle India, diplomatically as well as militarily. Now, at this point, when we look at that China is doing this, what is our response? We find our response is, in terms of what China is doing, is meek. Despite the tension and boycott by other nations, India went and attended the Winter Olympics at China. Its trade with China is increasing. Despite losing gallant soldiers at Galwan, India withdrew the troops from strategic heights that our soldiers captured in 2020. Maybe expecting a quid pro quo, but it did not happen. And so as a result, we are talking and still not being able to come to a logical conclusion. They are not going back, perhaps. So, despite all the talks and numerous meetings, Chinese have not relented. Now, therefore, criticizing yesteryear leaders who, makes no sense, who did not have the fortune to lead a prosperous India. What they inherited was a poor India, a very ill-equipped army, and very little money to equip them. So, but now we are one of the top, economies, fourth largest economy, and one of the largest professional standing armies or armed forces, to make China listen. So we need to assert ourselves. We must also realize the grave consequences of hiding information, the truth from the people. The leaders must realize this, the consequences of hiding the truth, because the enemy knows that you are hiding the truth or the information from your people. Very rightly, Lieutenant General Ajay Shukla wrote an article which was titled, "There is a Chinese storm coming. India needs to consider 5 factors to face this challenge." And I add one more important consideration into this. India must never shy away from displaying its annoyance. Some may call this as nuisance value, but we must do it. We must display our annoyance by boycotting, whatever possible. The government knows better, but we must never shy away from displaying our annoyance. Right? Okay, that's all for the monthly roundup. Thank you. Jai Hind.